Thank you once again for joining us on News Central's Game On. The show comes to you live Mondays to Fridays, 9 to 10 p.m. West African time on this station. Welcome once again. My name is Babatunde Koiki, and together we will be traversing the world of sports. Always a pleasure to have you on the show because everything is always popping off in sports, be it in Nigeria, be it West Africa, Africa, or across the globe. You can be sure that if it's sports, if it's hot, and if it's interesting, you will find it right here on Game On. Don't forget, we're also streaming live on YouTube, and also you can also use our social media handles, X, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, to get through to us. And the handle is at News Central TV. Welcome once again. It's a two-man show tonight after having a full house yesterday where we have 4 people on set. Well, I'm joined by Okpe Adebari. Okpe, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. It's just me and you.
Definitely. Seems like a striped Wednesday. I can see both of us are wearing shirts and stripes.
I just noticed something is going on.
Same shade as well, white and blue. Yeah. So yeah, good.
That's not bad. I think we're twinning. Yeah. It's not too bad. Yeah, but he's prettier, but it's still a big deal. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. Together, we'll be looking at a lot of things that have been going down across Africa, especially starting with the Africa Games, where Nigeria continues to show tremendous potential and promise in all the events. And again, once again today, at the Africa Games, Nigeria shone like a million stars. First, it was Tobi Amusan retaining her 100-meter hurdles African crown. She has won it for 3 consecutive African Games now after winning earlier on in Brazzaville and in Rabat. That was 2015 and 2019. She won the women's 100-meter hurdles record in a time of 12.89 seconds. Madagascar's Fiadadonswa Sidonia took the silver medal behind her in 13.19 seconds, while Zimbabwe's Ashley Tinashe Kamangirira won a bronze medal after finishing in 13.59 seconds. I don't know about you, but this was never in doubt.
Definitely, it was never in doubt. We're looking forward to her making it 4.
World champion, yeah, exactly. World record holder.
Yeah, so it's easy for me. And I cast my mind back to the heat yesterday. She looked so comfortable compared to the other athletes. You can see the difference in quality. I don't want to go into details when it comes to quality because I'm going to speak about nutrition.
Oh, okay.
but I mean, it was clear.
And we were so happy for her. Definitely clear of the rest of the field.
No doubt.
It was never in that. But it didn't come easy. For those who don't know, she actually yellow carded in the final for a false start.
Yeah.
If it was in the old days when it was just one false start and you were out, that would have been a disaster.
Definitely. She was lucky right there, but I think her nerves almost took the best of her, even at this stage, despite her years of experience. But to me, I take it as her.
Just hold on. But you say nerves. I'm wondering, how can a world champion, a world record holder, someone who has we can almost say dominated the sport over the last few years, have nerves when it comes to the African Games where there's absolutely no competition?
So for me, I see it as her always taking races very, very important. But more precisely, representing Nigeria is a big deal for Tobi Amusan.
Yes.
That is why she's at the African Games. Compared to other foreign-based athletes, she had the decision not to come not to come for the African Games because at times already this year has qualified her for the Olympics.
Yes.
So in her own interest, she could have decided, let me prevent myself, keep myself away from injury and just go for the Olympics. And then she came to the African Games ready to compete in 4 events, but sadly she could only do 2, if I'm not mistaken. And then she's done brilliantly for us, getting herself a hat-trick of gold medals at the African Games. For me, it's fantastic.
So could that have been the reason for the nerves? The fact that she's looking at winning a hat-trick. Don't forget, not everybody has won an African Games medal. We're talking about the likes of Arnold Quadri, who's been African #1 for as long as I can remember. One of the best players in the world in table tennis, ranked in the top 15. He's currently ranked 11th. He has never won an African Games medal. And Tobi has won 3 consecutively. Could have been the cause for those nerves in the final.
Definitely, it could have been, because at the end of the day, look, they are human beings. They're on social media as well. Everyone is talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it as well, that we want her to do this. This will be historic, not just for her, but for Nigeria as well. Definitely, she would hear about it. Our coaches might even just put it to her as a form of motivation for her to do this, not just for herself, but putting Nigeria on the map as when it comes to athletics. And I think she has done that brilliantly well, especially in the 110 meters hurdles.
But what about the time, like 12.89 seconds?
Yeah,
way shy of a world record. But
True.
Not bad.
The world record being 12.12 seconds, that's brilliant in my own opinion. She's still under sub 12, which for me is good, which means
Under sub 13, you mean?
sub 13. So for me, that means that she is in the right vein of form. On the 6th of January earlier this year, she had a meet and the time was 12.76. So for me, she's in good form. It's not too bad. And just like I said earlier, she looked very, very comfortable. So I don't see signs of injuries. I don't see signs of her managing.
So she's pretty much like in form, peaking towards that, towards the Paris Olympics, where she's gunning for a gold medal. But I have to ask again, 12.89 seconds. Was it because of the quality of the opposition? If she had someone like a Camacho Quinn pushing her, we could have seen a faster time.
So definitely, it's not about the quality of the opposition. I'm very, very sure that Tobi wasn't even thinking about the opposition. Tobi was thinking about herself and how to preserve her body for the finals. Look, we learned a lot from Usain Bolt. Sometimes getting into the Olympics, Usain Bolt was always under pressure to give a show, to do that show. And sometimes it affected him, making his hamstrings very weak. And then when it comes to the qualifiers, or rather the heats at the Olympics, you see him almost struggling to come out first at the end. Look, all top athletes learn from each other. I'm sure Tobi Amusan has learned from her predecessors. For me, she has done a great job because I watched her during the heats. She looked very comfortable for me. It did not look like she was stretching or striding way too much, but she definitely used the advantage of her long legs, and she looks comfortable to me. So just like I said once again, going into the Olympics, she looks comfortable, and don't be surprised if she matches her world record or goes ahead to break it.
Oh, wow. That would be something. Imagine breaking the world record in the women's 100-meter hurdles at the Olympic Games. Now, that is a stage meant for only demigods, as far as I'm concerned. So, talking about Nigeria's performance today at the Africa Games, well, we had another gold medal, this time from the men. It always seems as if it's women winning everything, but thank you, God. A man finally came through, a male athlete came through for Nigeria. It was Chidi Okezie winning the men's 400-meter flat. He did that ahead, finishing in the time of 45.06 seconds ahead of Muzala Samokonga of Zambia and Cheikh Tidiane Diouf of Senegal. Nigeria has always had tremendous ability in the quarter mile. We haven't had that in the past few years. When you think of the likes of Sunday Bada as well, and the things that they did, the remarkable things that they did in this match, Chidi Imo as well. I beg your pardon, the other gentleman, I forget, his name skips my mind now, former coach of the
Sprinter?
Yeah, in the 400 meters. But you know that Nigeria has always had tremendous ability and capability in the 400 meters in the quarter mile. But finally seeing Nigeria win this, it was heartwarming for me.
Definitely, it was heartwarming, not just for Nigeria as a whole, but I think for Chidi Okezie in particular. Mind you, he's 30 years old. So it's not the first time he's represented Nigeria. At Durban in 2016, that was the first time. He didn't really get good times there. But then coming into this tournament, not just today, but the African Games in total, obviously he had a focus. He wanted to put his name on the map for Nigeria. And I think he did that brilliantly, in my own opinion. And you could see that at the end, he was so emotional. You know, at the age of 30, getting your first gold medal for Nigeria, that says a lot. And not just for himself, but for Nigeria as a whole. Okay.
Well, don't forget that the men and women's 4x100 meter relay final also takes place tonight. Hopefully, we'll have good news for you from Nigeria in that particular event as well. But let's quickly show you the medal standings as it currently stands. Nigeria doing pretty well, still second on the table. There you go, Nigeria. With I think it's 35 now. It's 35 gold medals for Nigeria, not 33. If you can update that, you'll see that Nigeria is not doing too badly. Still second on the table behind Egypt, who have 92 gold medals, 40 silver, 33 bronze medals. So that needs to be updated. Nigeria won 2 gold medals today, thanks to Chidi Okezie and, of course, our golden girl herself, Tobi Amusan. That's 2 gold medals for Nigeria. South Africa still in 3rd place. Algeria in 4th. Tunisia in 5th, and guess who is up in, wow, no longer page 2 contenders. Ghana also making a late play for the upper echelon of the table. So Ghana, I think that I'm sure a lot of people are happy now to see Ghana up on the table.
Definitely, of course, and they would like to stake a claim, you know, just to, should I say, show example that, you know what, at the end of the day, because we are the hosts, there was a reason why we are the host. We had time to prepare.
Nobody expects Ghana to win. Nobody expects Ghana to win.
But I think they need to show a bit of, should I say, a bit of evidence that, you know what, the investment was worth it. And that's not bad in my own opinion. Maybe trying to finish in the top 5 will be very, very good. I think I would rate that excellent. But so far, so good for them, because we didn't even expect them to be in the first page, with all due respect to them. So this is, I think they've exceeded expectations, first of all. But in terms of, marking it with hosting the African Games, finishing in the top 5 will be excellent for them.
Okay, just take another look at that medals table once again to show you exactly how Nigeria is doing. Nigeria in second place on the medals table. Yeah, that's just a small error. It's actually 35 gold medals today. Egypt leading the way, South Africa in the 3rd place, Algeria 4th, Tunisia in 5th, Ghana up to 6th, Mauritius in 7th, Eritrea in 8th, Morocco in 9th place. Morocco, of course, were the last host, and Ethiopia in 10th place as well. Well, Nigerian athletes are still doing very, very well in different disciplines, and tonight is the semi-finals of the boxing event. 8 Nigerians are through to the semi-finals, which means at this particular point, 8 of them are all guaranteed of at least a bronze medal. So come what may, we will see Nigerians winning medals in this particular event. And tonight, there you see Nigerians who will be competing tonight. Additional Zainab taking on Fambule Grace Zima of Liberia, and Khalud Hilimi of Tunisia will also be facing Ojo Nene. Jermaine Paddy Abisonda of Mozambique will also be battling Mbata Patricia of Nigeria, while Dolakpo Omole will take on Ngulube Albert of Zambia. We can tell you that some results are already in as well. Yes, we can tell you that Zainab Adesina has defeated Fambule Grace Zima by 5 points to nothing, and so she is in the final of the boxing event. That's in the women's 50 kilogram category. Congratulations to her. Ojo Nene will also be taking part in the women's 57 kilogram category very, very soon. And don't forget, there's Mbata Patricia taking on Gramane Rudy Adosinda of Mozambique, and Dolakpo Omole, who has already qualified for the Olympics, one of 4 Nigerian boxers who have qualified for the Olympic Games. He will also be facing Ngulube Albert of Zambia in the men's 57 kilogram category. All of them competing tonight. We'd like to wish them all the very best of luck. Adams Olaore will also be fighting. He's facing Ali El Salamoni of Egypt in the men's 92 kilogram category as well. We have a guest joining us live here in Lagos. I'm talking about Mr. Babatunde Laguda. He is the technical director of the Nigerian Boxing Federation. He'll be joining us pretty soon to speak about how Nigerians have been performing well at the ongoing African Games, and also the prospects for amateur boxing in Nigeria. I'll be hoping to get him very soon. My director and producer tells me he's having a little connection issues, but we'll get through to him later on the show. Okay, let's talk about something very interesting away from Africa, internationally now, and it has to do with Russia. Now, Russia has accused the IOC, that's the International Olympic Committee, for, get this, racism and neo-Nazism. Yeah, that's pretty strong words coming out of the Russian Olympic Federation. Well, according to them, because of the IOC has interfered in the neutrality issues that surround the IOC, and of course, Russian Olympians and possible sanctions will definitely follow them for taking part in the organized, the Russian organized Friendship Games. That's interesting to note. But we've talked about the fact that Russian athletes are being targeted at the Olympic Games. Of course, you know that the Russian flag would not be allowed to be hoisted at the Games. The Russian athletes will compete under a neutral flag. But the Russian authorities are saying that now this is being high-handed and this is interference on the part of the IOC. But it's pretty much politics all over again.
Definitely, it is politics. And when you think about it, the launch from the Russian government, I think it's a very intelligent move by them, because simply they want their athletes to have the free ground again to compete once again. But I mean, the president of the government and the current president in particular don't speak well of the country. I mean, at first, they were not even going to be allowed to compete at the Olympics. They appealed that, and then a certain number of the athletes will be competing. Now, because of the restriction they have on the Olympics, they went ahead to create what they call the Friendship Games. Now the Friendship
Games are not particularly new. If I don't recall, they were actually first came to light in 1984 when Russia and I think 8 other countries, I think they boycotted the Los Angeles Olympic Games. So it's not a new competition, but the IOC are claiming that it's all politics on the part of Russia, that they're trying to break the Olympic movement. But it's interesting. Tell us a bit more about these friendship games and what it is that Russia is offering.
So definitely, I think the best way to put it is a rebirth instead of saying new. So it's a rebirth of the competition, and then they're going to have over 55,000 participants. But the
55,000 participants. That's 55. What they're looking at.
Yes, in terms of the number of athletes. But you see, the key thing here to note is that the friendship games are going to be going on in September, right? At the tail end of the Olympics. Now, one key thing to note is that for the Winter Olympics in Sochi in 2026, they also want to have another version.
So there's going to be a winter version of the friendship games
Exactly.
as well.
So clearly,
I've also heard that Russia is also offering countries money, financial incentives to participate.
Exactly, because as far as I'm concerned, it's quite clear. They want to compete side by side with the Olympics because of the restriction they have.
Wow. So wait, hold on. So you're saying that Russia is planning its own version of the Olympics.
Exactly.
And they are offering financial incentives for countries to participate.
Yes.
The IOC is also pushing back and warning countries not to participate. So where does this end?
Honestly,
do you honestly see some countries possibly boycotting the friendship games, considering the fact that the riches are on offer?
Lower nations. The lower nations who need the funds definitely would participate. The lower countries who would see Russia as an ally will definitely participate. But then in terms of the rules of the IOC, it's quite clear. It's been in existence for a very long time. For athletic games, or rather multi-games, they don't want any political interference. To be more precise, because of recent things that have happened in the past couple of years, they don't want the Russian government to have an input in multi-sport tournaments. So it's quite clear on pen and paper, but Russia wants to toe another line.
Well, according to the Russian foreign ministries, they are saying that the IOC's move to intimidate athletes and countries from participating in the friendship games is illegal, unfair, and unacceptable. The Russian government also accused the IOC of trying to intimidate athletes who want to take part in the friendship games. So we'll be watching this story very keenly, because you can be sure that Russia is not going to back down, and the IOC will try to, there'll be also be some other countries behind the IOC pushing for them to face off with Russia. But before we move on from this topic, there are those who are asking, why is the IOC so insistent about punishing Russia that it seems to be double standards? Well, why are they not doing the same thing for Israel? Israel has been involved in a genocide in Gaza, in Palestine over the last few months, but nobody is sanctioning them, not UEFA, not FIFA, and definitely not the IOC. It seems as if there's one law for Russia, another law for Israel.
Well, I think it's majorly because of the approach of the Russians and the type of impact they've had in sports over the years. So one other thing is that Russian athletes have also been very, very found guilty in terms of doping. They've had serious doping issues. For football, it might be different. I think FIFA sees themselves as an international body, which is also responsible for a lot of values that they portray. So for FIFA as well, if they allow Russia to be part of certain tournaments, it might be sending a wrong message in terms of alliances. So I think both bodies want to be clear and plain and say, look, we do not support Russia in what they do. We are two different entities. We don't want to be family members.
Well, I still think it's still double standards, if you ask me. How there can be one law for Russia and another one for Israel. Both of them are pretty much guilty. Belligerence against their neighbors, but even more so Israel, who have committed what has been globally acclaimed to be a genocide in Palestine. Well, still talking about the Africa Games today, Nigeria's women's rugby national team were in action against their Ghanaian counterparts. It didn't exactly end in the way that a lot of us wanted to. Nigeria lost 12-5 to their Ghanaian counterparts in their very first game, leaving their qualification and progress in that competition somewhat shaky. But joining us now all the way from Ghana, Accra, Ghana precisely, is Aziz Ladipo. Aziz Ladipo is the general manager of the Nigerian Rugby Federation, and he'll be joining us to talk more about what this result means and also about rugby in general in Nigeria. Aziz, it's very nice to have you on the show. I'm sure today's result was not exactly what you wanted, but as technical director, I'm sure you still have plenty of hope that this is just a small setback.
Yeah, thank you very much, Koiki, for having me. For the record, I'm not the technical director. I'm the general manager
Oh,
of the
general manager.
federation.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah. So today was historic in our history, Nigerian rugby history. For the first time since 1987, Nigerian rugby featured again in the All African Games. It's about over 40 years. And also, our women's rugby hasn't. They've not played since 2009. So we're restarting the program, sort of the women's program. So that's why we've come here with them, and they did very well according to our own expectations. We wanted better results, obviously, but the way things went, we wouldn't say they did badly too much. Against Ghana, they were unlucky with a lot of calls against them. The last time we counted, it was around 13 penalties to 1. Not so good. A Ghanaian player had a red card and 12-week ban for stamping on a Nigerian player. So a few things didn't go our way, but we lost that game narrowly, 12-5. The second game against Madagascar team has been together for a very long time. We gave them a good fight, and a respectable score of 25, not bad. Tomorrow we go again. The girls are motivated. They want to prove that they've got something in the offing. And tomorrow we play Tunisia at 9 a.m. in the morning, and Uganda. Uganda are like on the they're challenging to be on the World HSBC series. They just got back from Montevideo in the Uruguay. So they're very experienced. Their men's and their women's team have been very fantastic this weekend. But we hope to put on a good show for against Uganda as well.
But there are those who are asking that why is it that the women's team are the ones that are participating at the games when Nigeria also has a Nigerian sevens team, I believe, and they qualified as well. Why are they not there?
Well, the men's and the women's cannot all come according to the budget and the ministry's guidelines. We had to some of the team sports were had to cut down on the number of players that have to be here. So we opted for the women's team.
Okay, so Aziz, a lot of people have been looking at rugby in Nigeria, and while it's a major sport in some parts of Africa, especially Southern Africa, where you have Namibia, you have South Africa, and also in East Africa, where Kenya are really, really strong in the sport as well. And a lot of people look at it and wonder, why is Nigeria not at that level in rugby as well, especially in the rugby 15s, maybe in the frame for qualification for the Rugby World Cup as well? What exactly is wrong with Nigerian rugby that we haven't reached that level yet? I know that there's been a lot of issues in the past, infighting in the board, but thankfully that's been in the past. But now that there's a political will, how soon can we get to that level?
Well, let me first of all say that we're lucky to have Dr. Ademola Are as president of the NIFF. He's brought in he's brought in sanity. We're more stable now in terms of politically. So no more infighting, I guess. But then for us as a federation, I'm directly responsible for the strategic planning, which is usually 4 years, every 4 years, and growth strategy as well. So in Lagos, for example, we have about 40 schools playing. In Kano, we have a lot of schools playing rugby. Rugby is starting to gain traction, so we're starting to be able to convince parents to let them know that it is safe. It's not going to be contact for children. It's going to be tag rugby or touch rugby. So a lot of this education and mindset change has been ongoing, is still ongoing. We need to be able to do more in terms of schools rugby and community rugby. I've been to South Africa many times, and I know that in University of Cape Town, for example, hostels have their teams, and those teams are strong. Just in the University of Cape Town, but I'm not talking about the school team. In the university, they have hostel teams that are strong. So we want to be able to get to that level in the future. But, we have a lot of factors that are affecting sports generally, not just rugby, in Nigeria, infrastructure is a major problem. You know, um, we don't have the right infrastructure in Nigeria. We need to build more on that. But then we also have some schools that are that have the right infrastructure. So we are hoping to be able to leverage on that, private schools most especially, and then have the public schools that are around the corner join them and then be able to use those facilities to play. Also, I mentioned that we're going into tag rugby and touch rugby. Some of these things don't really need like proper infrastructure. You just need a space for them to be able to play, remove the tag, ball has to be passed, so
Pretty much
we're
like flag
bringing it
football, right?
into,
Pretty much like flag
yes,
football,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, very, very flexible. So it's more like, yeah, flag football. And yeah, so we will also have tag rugby. We have touch rugby. So we're introducing it to schools, over 40 schools in Lagos. I think what we need basically is to be able to have the right partnerships with corporates. A lot is needed in terms of equipment, in terms of balls, whistles, tags. We have regional development officers. We need to be able to pay them stipends to go out and into communities and schools to continue to preach the gospel and develop this young talent.
Mm.
I'm a strong believer in Southeast rugby. I feel like you have a lot of uh, giant figures over there. So if we can catch them young, right from primary, secondary school, the future of the forward line of the Nigerian team might as well be coming from the southeast and then north central region.
But Aziz, how would you respond to parents and do I say members of the public and even possible sponsors who look at rugby and say, oh, it's such a tough sport, oh, it's a dangerous sport, oh, these big men all colliding with themselves. How would you respond to them to reassure them that it's not what they think, that it's actually one of the biggest sports in the world and it has so great potential in Nigeria?
Yeah, so for me, the first thing I'm going to say is that, firstly, some of the qualities we lack in society today, you may not believe, but they are directly embedded in rugby. The solutions of most of the societal problems of Nigeria is embedded in sports.
Wait, hold on. You're saying that most of the problems in Nigeria can be solved by rugby. You can hear
exactly.
Go ahead, tell us. We want to hear.
Some of the qualities we lack in society are embedded in rugby, because as a youth, as a young boy, young girl, the coach is teaching you to be disciplined, to respect the next teammate, not to blame anybody for the lackluster or whatever has happened in the team. So the ethos and values that the sport teaches is mainly discipline, respect, teamwork, sportsmanship, and camaraderie. Solidarity. So if we can instill these qualities in millions of youths, we're going to have less drug abuse, less social vices. We're going to have less wife beaters, because rugby is a hooligan sport played by gentlemen.
That's what
and
they keep saying.
No matter how aggressive you are, you must control it. So if you want to beat your wife, you have to control yourself.
No. We don't advocate for that. Obviously,
societal problems can be solved by just teaching kids how to play rugby.
Okay, I think you have a question.
Yeah, great. Aziz, I've loved listening to you so far. I think one of the things I've loved that you've said is about grassroots, getting to the grassroots level and trying to build, should I say, the knowledge and then getting them to start playing the sport at the grassroots level. But you're going to face certain challenges. And one question I want to ask is, number one, for the females, how do you plan to, speak to schools and to get them to understand that, look, females also play this sport? How do you get females involved? That's the first question. And then the second question for me would have to be, within the schools, a lot of schools in Nigeria, especially at the tertiary level, sometimes they just want to focus on academics and maybe just research. So how do you plan to break that barrier? Because some of these schools that you've actually mentioned, or rather, some of the schools that you've spoken about, yes, they've got the facilities, but the question is, are they going to allow their students to get imbibed in the culture, and then will they then be consistent in it? So how do you plan to break that barrier, to get it known to them that, look, this is, like you said in your words, a sport played by hooligans, or rather a sport for hooligans played by gentlemen. So how do you break that barrier to them?
Yeah, so firstly, getting rugby into schools for us, over the years we have had different programs that has been successful. For example, in the in 2010, we got the NIFF at the time got Promasido to sponsor a grassroots plan, which is Cowbell. That was a successful program for a number of years. A lot of children came through, a lot of schools came through. At the moment, we have a large, not really a large, a number of private schools. They play rugby with the ARSCDP program, the All Elite Schools Rugby Program. So we call it the ARSCDP. So many schools are on that program. What we have done as NRFF is to say, okay, let us try and see whether coaches can go into grassroots programs. So we also have the Ibudo Academy, private people investing in, coaches and making sure that they go out to schools and they teach children the sports. So we have some programs already. All we need to do is just expand it, and that's what NRFF is working on. We're just looking out for the right corporates that these programs can match their identity, and maybe they might want to get involved in that. And then we also have a little problem. So when children play rugby from maybe primary 5, 4, 5, 6 up to SS3, there seems to be a disconnect between the university and club rugby. So when some of them go off to university, they may never get to play again. So sometimes we lose them.
Okay.
And so what we're trying to do is to bridge that gap. Varsity sports is something that is big, even out there in South Africa and other parts of the world. So we need to do more, invest more in varsity sports. They have the facilities, most of them.
Okay.
I've not seen any university that doesn't have a sports center with proper pitches, with cricket.
Right. Aziz, we're fast running out of time, but I have to ask you these last two questions. One, there's a lot of people who say that maybe the future of Nigerian rugby, considering the fact that we have such a deficit in the sports here in Nigeria, should be the same model that we actually have in basketball, where the vast majority of our players, the better players that we do have, were born and raised in the United States of America. That we should also be looking at getting more players from the diaspora, especially the United Kingdom and probably even South Africa, to form the bulk of our national team. And secondly, there's those, I think a former national Nigerian team coach said that probably the fastest way to grow rugby in Nigeria is to have a strong sevens program like Kenya currently have. Kenya have a world-class rugby team, sevens team, and they say maybe Nigeria should follow the same path. Do you agree with having foreign-born Nigerian players form the core of Nigerian national team and probably paying more attention to our rugby sevens team?
Yeah, so absolutely. That's the plan, and that's what we've been doing. So maybe the person saw what we're doing and firstly just told you that. So last year we went to Mauritius. We went with 10 foreign-based players and 2 local-based players, and we got to the finals. After that, the subsequent tournament in Zimbabwe was the Olympic qualifiers. We did the same, 10 and 2. And then with this African Games that we're in right now, we have about 6 foreign-based players because they play. The difference between the local player and the foreign players is the local player plays less, whilst the foreign-based players plays more. So that gives them an edge over us. We're trying to meet up with that by creating a sevens circuit. So a circuit meaning that teams converge, play in Lagos, play in Delta, play in Kano, play in Abuja, the same number of teams, and then we accumulate the points, the Ghana points in every of those tournaments, and then at the end of the series, the circuit, we name the winner.
Okay.
So we're working on that. It requires a lot of funding, as you can.
Well, Aziz Ladipo, General Manager of the Nigerian Rugby Federation, thank you so much for your time. And of course, we wish you all the very best of luck in your future endeavors, especially with the Nigerian women's rugby team that are currently competing at the African Games. I will also be following you closely as you strive to develop rugby in Nigeria, especially through the sevens route, as we mentioned in the show. Thank you so much for your time, Aziz.
You're welcome.